The period fetus feels pain and form human shape during pregnancy is 6 months. Before that, it cannot be said human and cannot feel pain, therefore cannot recognize as human dignity. This is the basis America and Germany partially admit abortion. So in this condition, abortion should be a choice mother freely makes.
According to a poll conducted by the Korea Association of Achievement Studies in 2018, 86.9% of our people are pregnant women. I think fetuses are life. Therefore, many people believe that the fetus in stomach is a life with dignity, and abortion which kills this life should be avoided in our society.
You said 86.9% of citizens think fetus in pregnant women is a life being, but where is the standard of fetus in this poll? Is it a fertilized egg or 3 months after fertilization? The result of this poll from people thinking fetuses begin to form human being after 4 to 6 months. If you ask, is the picture shown a life being, then the result will be different. In particular, 95% of surgeries performance in countries where abortion is legal is taken before 4 to 6 months. This fact shows weakness of the resultant process of the poll.
He said people think fetus takes shape of a human from 4 to 6 months, therefore result will be different. If asked whether the previous picture is a life being. But this claim is refused by the current life science community. Even in the United States, where abortions are allowed up to 6 months before conception, reported fetuses' heart start beating after going through fertilization and implantation through 8 weeks, and brain waves is detected after 2 months. It's after pregnancy that fetus have a familiar human image. It might be 6-month-old fetus, but as a human being, it's before 6 months, maybe 8 weeks or 3 months, or even more, at the moment of implantation when the life being is given a dignity as human. Therefore, abortion is an act of murder that kills a small human being in the womb.
You said abortion is an act of murder that kills a small human being in the womb. But abortion acts as a shield to prevent a social problem caused by unwanted pregnancies. In current South Korea, pregnant women have to follow the law that say you must give birth unconditionally. We can't compare human dignity relatively, but we must think of dignity of the fetus as well as the dignity of parent whom will take responsibility of the fetus. But when it comes to abortion, South Korea only considers the dignity of the fetus, but not the life of the mother, which will be ruined by unwanted pregnancy. Pregnancy is a choice, not an obligation, therefore parents should choose to give birth, not be forced by others.
Article 14 Clause 1 of the Mother and Child Health Act in Korea already states that it guarantees the mother's right to the unwanted pregnancy you claim. If the mother has a genetic disease, in case of unwanted pregnancy due to rape, and if pregnancy continuously give negative effect to mother's health, South Korean law allows these women to have abortions. Except for these internal and external factors, unwanted pregnancies can be prevented with contraceptive tools currently available. People who don't want to raise a child, but want to have sex, could avoid pregnancy as much as they want with contraceptive tools. If their carelessness caused them to be pregnant, this is a matter of their own responsibility, not of the fetus. Therefore, except for abortions allowed only for unwanted pregnancies noted in law, abortions according to one's need is an act of killing innocent lives.
The scope of what you call unwanted pregnancy is narrow and peripheral. According to the Korean Women's Policy Institute, 2,000 women between ages of 16 to 44, 77% of women agreed to abolition of abortion, and 42% of those who experienced pregnancy experienced abortion. This shows that unwanted pregnancy, stipulated by Mother and Child Health Act, does not represent women's will to conceive. In addition, Mother and Child Health Act has fundamental contradictions. The dignity of the child in fetuses caused by rape is not considered. You said you could do contraception using contraceptives, but there is no 100% contraceptive tool. The birth rate of condoms we know is over 70%. Loop and femidoms have lower chance of contraception than condoms. In addition, contraceptives cause problems in women's bodies. Is the law which cannot protect child or a mother a suitable law in our time? We should no longer be bound by anachronistic thinking and law.
He said, how can a law which can't protect a mother or a child a law suitable for times? Then can abortion protect mother and child? Abortion takes the life of the fetus and give adverse effect on the uterus and vagina, and this may cause infertility in the future. And also, from an emotional standpoint, abortion can give mother a trauma of killer of the child, therefore not a better option. The Mother and Child Health Act is not designed to harm the dignity of a fetus, rather it is enacted to protect health and life of mothers and infants.
The opposition to abortion is based on the dignity of life and the trauma of the mother. However, this is nothing more than an emotional appeal. By clarifying limitation of the Mother and Child Health Act, it is spectating the sideline of the law and is creating another pain and suffering. Look at those who are deprived of employment instability and opportunities for higher education because they are single mothers. Therefore, it should be the mother herself who has the right to decide abortion. So, it doesn't make sense to talk about the possible trauma of the third party. Unprepared childbirth has an adverse effect on both children and parents. For a society that is more reasonable and everyone can be happy, people have to reach a social consensus.
Abortion is the act of killing a small human being directly, so it is wrong in ethical and legal aspects. While aborting the fetus, uterus of the mother is scratched, therefore mother have higher chance of infertility, giving a negative effect economically and socially in low birth rate society.
Based on the survey by female Korean policy researchers, surveying about 2,000 women aged 16 to 44, 77% of women agreed to abolishing abortion, and 42% of those who experienced pregnancy have had an abortion. The general level of public awareness against abortion is not based on universal knowledge, but on long-term misguided sex education. Therefore, it is not right to make social conclusion based on this. In addition, this forces women to make unilateral sacrifices for childbirth.
You said fetus is hard to call a human being if pain is not felt. But there are animals that do not feel pain. A naked mole rat that lives in Africa cannot feel pain, but none of the scholars deny that this animal is a living creature. There are also people who are born painless. No one can say they are not human. So, whether you're feeling pain or not, it cannot be a measure of whether a fetus is human or not.
You are claiming in terms of dignity of life, 8 weeks or 3 months or even before then, damaging life of a living being is a murder. But can abortion really be seen as murder? Let's look at the Mother and Child Health Act. There are 5 cases in which abortion is legally recognized in the law. 1 in case you and your spouse have a genetic disorder. 2 in case you and your spouse have an infectious disease. 3 pregnancy by rape or quasi-rape. 4 in case of pregnancy between blood relatives or relatives who are legally incapable of marriage. 5 if the continuation of pregnancy damages the health of the mother. If abortion is really murder, why would the Mother and Child Health Act leave an exception of murder?
Since ancient times, mankind has traditionally respected fetuses humanly. Also, religiously, Catholic has treated artificial abortions as evil and crime acts. The Church has treated fetus as a protective life being from the time of conception. Abortion was regarded as an act of murder and was prohibited. That is, traditionally and religiously, humanity has continued to respect life for the fetus. Therefore, for abortion to ignore all this is an extermination of humanity and the deception of God.
Except in cases where a man has amorphosis or a woman is infertile, there is no way to become 100% contraceptive. Sex isn't just about pregnancy. Just because there is mistaken sex without aim of pregnancy, forcing to give birth without even having a chance to turn it back is too harsh.
Isn't killing a fetus caused by your behavior of sex without aim of pregnancy harsh? If you are pregnant, then your sacred duty as parent begins and killing lives under the pretext of one's own mistake should not be tolerated.
All the current contraceptive devices have chance of being pregnant. You can get pregnant even if you are really careful. In this case, forced childbirth cannot guarantee the happiness of the family. You can't raise a child born without a plan properly. It is a dilemma to consider what is more important between a right to live of a newly fertilized egg and right of self-determination of the mother. Should we enforce birth even if it makes both the mother and the child unhappy?
Your argument that abortion should be banned from the perspective of the respect for the right to live. In this argument there is a conflict between life to live and right of self-determination. The state is talking about sex beyond breeding as respect towards self-determination and freely allows it, but all existing contraceptive devices have a chance of pregnancy, therefore you can get pregnant even if you have contraception. But the state is forcing them to give birth. This allows sex beyond breeding and at the same time, face a legal dilemma that places restriction on the act of sex. In this aspect, opposing and banning abortion by law is limiting sex beyond breeding from people, which is a opposition of abortion. This is a respect towards right to live but also a limitation of self-determination towards sex beyond breeding. In free country, it is stipulated in the Constitution that all people as self-determination right must be protected unless it violates other people as right. It is doubtful whether abortion banning law is constitutionally valid to limit sex beyond breeding.
Abortion is a very dangerous operation for a mother. Typically, abortion is done by scraping out a bloated uterus of the mother's. These surgeries are performed in the mother's womb, causing functional degradation and increasing infertility rates. Women's infertility is not a huge social impact to be a problem. But abortion should be banned for the mother when she would desire a real baby one day after abortion.
You said abortion will remain as a trauma to the mother. But if the mother and child after forced birth cannot live a normal life, the pain will be greater than the post-abortion trauma of the mother. Therefore, abortion should be the mother as free will and mother should be responsible for the pain. So, if abortion causes a trauma to the mother, it does not make sense for the third party to oppose to it.
He said mother has the right to decide, but the right to live of the fetus should not be ignored. If the mother alone has the right to abortion, there is nothing to say about the family suicided when the mother kills the child and themselves, because they don't have the ability to raise the child after giving birth. Pregnancy and childbirth are the beginning and symbol of human dignity. If this dignity is merely a mistake and can be ignored, the proposition of all men are dignified in our society will fall apart.
Abortion surgery is done before the fetus is still recognized as a living organism. A mother who has an abortion due to unwanted pregnancy will suffer greater life pain than the physical and emotion pain of the operation when she is forced to give birth. What can you when you give birth to the baby when you don't have the ability to bear the family? Can the child grow up to be normal? Can the parent raise the child with happily when the child is born from unwanted childbirth?
He said an unwell fetus is hard to call a human being. But just because fetus doesn't feel pain doesn't mean it is not human. Can you say patient with nervous system problem not human because they can't feel pain? Life begins when fertilized egg are implanted in the uterus, therefore erasing it will be no different than murder.
Have you ever seen realistic life after childbirth due to unwanted pregnancies? They say they are overcoming difficulties, but this is only warped up in good words. As a real example, a woman who is an acquaintance of mine in high school found out she was pregnant and tried to have an abortion after being forced to give birth knowing abortion is too late and impossible. Currently she gave up her studies and is working with her husband only for survival. When I asked her if she is happy, she said honestly it is so hard. If I had an early abortion, I would be going to school and living a normal happy life. These forced births are intended to ensure the right to live of the fetus, but it forces to give up child, mother, father as right to pursue a happy life. It is not the fetus who determines that the future will be unhappy after forced childbirth, but only the mother herself can do it.
A typical contraceptive tool, condoms, is generally guaranteed contraception unless it meets the expiration date or excessive force is applied. Therefore, leaning on the very low possibility of being pregnant, even if you are careful, is not acceptable.
For couples who are not prepared to become economically and emotionally independent, pregnancy is not a blessing but a disaster. Sometimes you can overcome the harsh gaze and pain of society and bear beautiful fruits, but even more forced childbirth families are being ruined.
There is a tragedy of divorcing after few years of giving birth, leaving mother to nurture alone, and causing child to die by neglecting to raise the child after giving birth.
You said there should be more social support, but this cannot be the basis for the deprivation of freedom for abortion. You also said teenage couples are living with difficulties, and I also applaud for their choice. But their case cannot be the basis for opposing abortion. As the choice of childbirth is respected, the choice of abortion should also be respected. Forcing one-sided sacrifice on a parent who is not prepared by the standard to right to live of the fetus is a dangerous totalitarian thought and view of mother as a tool of childbirth.